Hi and welcome to another Mixed Media Tuesday, and today I'm going to share a double-page art journal using fun mixed media techniques. Now, for today, I have put together the video so that you can create along with me. The idea today is to have a mini class in art journaling where I'm using basic supplies, and I'm pretty sure you have something similar at home. So let's start with rice paper. The pattern doesn't really matter for this class. You don't have to use the exact same design as me. If you have a rice paper with beautiful flowers, then you are good to go. If you don't have rice paper, you can definitely use napkins or even a beautiful pattern paper. Now, of course, when you are using rice paper, you don't always have the right size to cover up completely your background. So what I'm doing here is just dipping my brush in water, and I'm just drawing exactly where I want to tear the paper. I'm going to cut it in two different areas, and I am going to use those on the two different corners of my pages. So you see how lovely it cuts out. You can definitely use scissors, but if you do this technique with the brush and the water, it's going to give you very smooth edges. These edges are going to blend beautifully into your paper. Now, I'm not going to fast forward this video too much because I want you to create with me. So the idea is to see what I'm using and then grab your supplies, play the video from the start and work along with me. Now you see here I have two areas that I want to work with, so I'm just going to draw again at the bottom so that I can cut out that bottom flower as well. Now if you find that it doesn't cut, just let it soak a little bit with the water. The rice paper that I'm using is Tamperia. It is perfect quality. It is very sturdy, although it is very soft. And you can easily tear it off. It's very forgiving, but in any case, whatever rice paper quality you have at home, I'm sure you can recreate what I'm doing here. Now, the rice paper that I'm working with is a very old one that I hide in my stash, and by the way, don't throw away the leftovers. I'm going to show you later today in one of my short videos how you can use the leftovers. So I like to work on mini tags that I have in my stash, and I'm just grabbing one for you so you can see what I'm going to do. I will use those on top of one of the tags, and I will post that short video later on my channel as well, so a bonus little video for you too. And now it's time to stick those two pieces of rice paper on top of my journal. I'm going to stick each one of them on a corner, and I will make sure that I stick them on a diagonal. Now I don't want to have all these huge flowers, so I'm going to move it a little bit towards the top. And then on the other corner, I'm going to stick the other flower. The design that I'm going for today is made so that you can follow the steps no matter which type of design you have. So I'm not going to add focal points or do any crazy stuff with my page today. I'm just going to focus on the beautiful design of the pattern paper. Now I'm using rice paper glue, which is made specifically for sticking down rice, but if you don't have rice glue, just use any type of glue that you have, which is liquid enough to apply with a brush. And then you can use the same glue on top of your rice paper. Now, it is really important to use a glue that it's not going to stay sticky, since we are going to apply it on top of the rice paper as well. And to tell you the truth, to make your life easier, don't use a brush like this one. If you have one of the bigger ones, I'm just going to bring a wider one. Use one of those, it's going to make your life easier. The step is going to be really quick. And as I'm doing that, let me update you on some fun things that are going on. So first of all, my Mixed Media Tuesdays are going to go live every other Tuesday. This is really important for me. It gives me some time to work on other things that I'm doing behind the scenes, mainly designing new products and collections, but I'm not going to talk a lot about that. I'm keeping it a secret for now. The second thing that I want to announce is that I will be teaching at the Stamperia booth in Create by Simon Says Stamp this coming May, which means that I will be in Ohio. I will be teaching makes and takes for 2 full days, and I would love to meet you. Keep in mind I may have something new for you by then. And as I'm covering everything with my rice paper glue, let's move on to the third and last announcement. I am going on a crafting cruise in the US this coming October 2024. I will be teaching mixed media classes along with Farrel Tailor. And if you want to learn more about it, I will give you all the links down below, both for the Create event by Simon Says Stamp in Ohio, as well as the crafting cruise. Now back to the project. I did try everything and now I need to tear off the excess rice paper. You can use a sanding block like I'm doing here. It's going to give you a very lovely finish on the edges, or you can definitely use your scissors. And now let's move on to the fun technique where we are going to make those edges disappear. You need to find an acrylic paint from your stash that matches the color of your pattern paper or your rice paper in my case. So I'm going to grab a sponge so that I can dab this color over the edges, and I'm also going to cover up completely the rest of the page. You can do that with white if you want, so that it looks like your paper or rice paper blends towards the white. So here, for example, I'm going with ivory to match kind of the color of my rice paper, but I could definitely add a completely different color like blue, for example, that would match lovely with the flowers on this page. So it really depends. Just try to find acrylic paint from your stash that matches one of the colors of your rice paper. This is going to bring everything together somehow. So I'm dabbing up and down, I'm not brushing. And this is going to make the rice paper edges disappear into that dabbed paint. Remember, the rice paper is very thin, so it blends lovely together. Plus, we did that technique on the edges with water, so it's not hard to cover them up. This technique works with napkins, of course, since they are very, very thin as well. It doesn't work that well with tiered pattern paper, obviously, because it's slightly thicker. But on the edges, you can definitely go with paste if you like to cover them up. And I will show you an extra step that you can do to make them completely disappear in a while. Now, if you don't have one of those sponges that I'm using here, you can use a makeup sponge, definitely works, or you can use one of your blending tools like this one. Now, if you have one of those sponge dabbers like I do, remember that you can reuse them, just dip them inside a jar of water, and this way the acrylic paint is not going to dry and you can wash it later on when you finish on your sink. Now for the next step, I need you to bring a stencil. Any stencil would do. And today I decided not to give you a specific supply list like I always do in the description. Today's class is so that you can use whatever you have. I'm sure you all have a stencil. So I'm just going through my stencils, and these are actually my babies, all from my own signature collections. I'm debating whether I want to use the numbers and letters or the other more generic one, but I decided to go with the other one. And then I'm going to use my spatula and volume paste to go over the stencil in different areas. Now I'm not going to use the whole stencil as it is. I'm just going to use different bits and pieces in different parts of my project. This is going to give a more organic look. Try to avoid perfect impressions of your stencils. Again, for this step, I'm not speeding up the video so you can see exactly what I'm doing. And as I'm doing that, let me talk a little bit about the volume paste. I get a lot of questions about volume paste. Now, there is a big variety of paste that you can use over the stencils. One of my favorites is the volume paste by Stamperia because it is super thick, which means that even if I move a little bit the stencil, it's not going to make a mess underneath, and I get a beautiful impression. Now, that doesn't mean that you cannot use any other type of pastes that you probably have. You can use modeling paste, you can use texture paste, you can use embossing paste. There are different names, all pastes that you can use over stencils. Plus there are even pastes that have color in them. I like to work with white ones or completely black. If you have a white one, you can always add a little bit of color and color it in. You will get a more pastel look of the color that you add, but you can definitely color them. So anyway, as you can see, I'm moving around my page and I mainly stay where that tier of the rice paper is. This is going to be an extra step of disguise on those torn edges, and it's going to help everything blend in together. Now this is already looking beautiful. Let's add some extra steps to make this background to look more interesting. Again, I'm going through my stamps and I'm going to use one of the text stamps from my collection. Again, you can use whatever stamps you have. That's why I'm not going to give you specific products that I'm using in this video. So I'm using black ink and I'm going to do some stamping. Again, I will stamp along the torn edges, but in different areas of the page as well. I'm also going to stamp on top of the rice paper. Little details like this is going to bring all the elements that you stick on your page together. The ink pad that I'm using is black archival ink, and I'm using that because I need that black to be permanent. Up to now, everything I have on my page is permanent, and when it dries, it's not going to move if I add water later on. Now, if you are enjoying my Mixed Media Tuesdays, don't forget to leave a comment and to like the video, it really helps. And also let me know in the comments if you want to see a specific technique or a specific material, like today for example, I'm playing with rice paper. Now I finished the stamping with the text stamp and I want to bring a different design on the stamping. That's why I brought one of my circle stamps and I'm just going to stamp with this one here and there. Again, I'm creating some visual texture at the background without making it too vibrant. I don't want to be in your face, so I'm kind of hiding all this stamping by making sure that it is organic, first of all, not squares or perfect circles, and by kind of blending it with whatever element is already on the page. So I just don't go ahead and stamp a circle at the center of the page. I'm just going to touch close to whatever is already there. Now for the background, we did some stenciling, we did some stamping. Next thing that I like to do is to add splatters. For this background, since it's ivory, I'm going with white splatters as well as black ones. For the white one, lately I like to use white calligraphy ink. It stays nice and vibrant, it doesn't blend with whatever is underneath, but you can definitely dilute acrylic paint with water. Now, when it comes to splatters, I like to use either a very fine brush or a slightly bigger one. I'm going with a bigger one. The size of the brush is going to help you kind of manipulate or control the type of the splatters that you are doing. So here with a bigger brush I end up with bigger blobs of white, which is what I want, since the white is not going to overwhelm the page, it's going to let it be nice and soft. But then I'm going to switch to the smaller brush so that I can add black splatters. Now for the black splatters I'm going to do another technique. Instead of using black calligraphy ink, I'm going with acrylic paint just to show you that it works as well. Just a dab of acrylic paint on your glass mat or your palette, and then you can dilute with water. Apply lots of water so that you can make it really runny, and then with a very thin brush I'm going to first do some splatters on my palette to make sure that the big blobs are off, and then I will go on my page. I'm doing this technique because I want to make sure that the black splatters are very fine ones. And of course, every time I load my brush with black, I will always do the testing on the palette before I go directly on top of my page. I get a lot of questions about the splattering. That's my technique, that's what works for me. So you can try it if you like. Just use different types of brushes. And although you cannot really control splatters, I'm sure you can have results that are pleasing to your eyes. Now here's how my page looks at the moment. You can go ahead and draw a border with a brush. I happen to have these ribbons from my first collection with Stamperia, and I still have a few that I want to use up, so I'm going to go with these ones, but definitely use a black marker and just draw some lines or some markings along the border if you want. Notice here that I'm not going to add this line all around the border. I'm just going to leave it again unfinished, just adding those markings here and there. You can definitely do those markings with your marker. I'm sure you can. If you are going to follow this class and make a project following the steps that I'm doing, I would love to see what you have created. If you are on Instagram, make sure to tag me if you post it so that I can take a look. Now I'm going to show you another fun step that you can do if you like. I grabbed some of my blue acrylic paints and I'm trying to find one that matches better the color of the flowers. So I decided to go with this one. I'm not giving you specific color names, I'm not giving you specific supplies, just use your imagination and what you already have. Now on my glass mat I'm going to add a little dot of paint and I'm going to add lots of water on top of it to dilute it and make a wash. Instead of acrylic paints, you can definitely do this technique with watercolors. I'm going to load my brush and then touch the brush on top of my paper, and I will allow this to create drops of color, and I can help that by applying some water on top. Remember that whatever I have underneath my page on the background is permanent, which means that I'm not going to make a mess. And that gives you also the opportunity to use a paper towel and just clean up whatever you don't like. So here, for example, I'm showing you how it works. This, just because it is very diluted with water, is not going to dry instantly. So you have enough time to wipe it off, to manipulate it, to control it, play with a wash of paint and some water, and this is going to bring even that volume paste into life, as the water is going to go around it and it's going to make it show even more. Now finally, I always like to have a motivational quote on my pages. I'm not going for a focal point or anything crazy in this page. I was mainly focused on basic techniques, so I'm going to bring in some of my chipboard sayings that I have for years, and I'm just going to pick a couple of them and stick them on my page. Now these ones are very thick. I don't want to have that bulk inside my pages, so that I can always peel off the backing and use only the top layer. If you don't have similar ones, you can always print them out. You can use a label maker to print them out, or you can go and look through your scrapbooking pages. Maybe you will find some sayings there. Now to add some more interest and a little bit of a different texture, I'm using cheesecloth and I'm just going to place it behind those quotes, just like so, and I'm going to stick them as they are together on top of my page by using some glue. Now if you want to embellish your page a little bit more and you have flowers all over, then you can just use a butterfly. I'm sure you all have a butterfly, either to cut out from scrapbooking paper or from your ephemera collection. I used a tiny one. I didn't want to overwhelm the page. I like it as it is. And also I chose one that is black and white so that I don't introduce new colors into my soft page. Finally, I'm going to do some scribbling. I will do that along, I'm just going to outline the sayings, the quotes, and I'm also going to do that along the design of the rice paper. Just a few lines here and there, sketchy lines along the flowers and the leaves are going to give an extra touch, and I absolutely love the feel that it gives. So that was a project for today. I hope that you had fun and that you got inspired. I did my best to do a free class for you, and you can see here some close-up photos. I hope that you will be able to recreate what we did today using what you have at home. Thank you all so much for joining me today. Don't forget, down below in the description you will find links to my upcoming classes, both the cruise as well as the Simon Says Stamp Create event.